What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers and TeamFight Tactics players. I am the League Dad, and I'm joined today by Nighthawk, and we are coming at you with a patch 9.16 rundown on TeamFight Tactics, giving you all the good information that you need to know so that you can keep on climbing in ranked TFT. But I just wanted to start off by say what's up, Nighthawk. We just did a podcast for you guys, not on here. We just did one on the regular patch notes, and now me and Nighthawk are tackling the TeamFight Tactics patch. So we've been talking quite a bit, but let me give you just a second to update us on how everything's going with TeamFight Tactics for you, my friend.
TFT is going great. I've been climbing. Finally.
Nice. There you go.
I had a bit of a rough patch where I just get at least 5th place in every single game, so it wasn't going so well. But
yeah,
last few ranked games, 1st place, 2nd place, 1st place, stuff like that feels good.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. A bunch of people in the Discord have been hitting plat, and I was so close. I was like gold 1. I was teetering on plat, and then new patch dropped, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a little scared to play ranked at the moment because so many things happening, so many big changes. So I just played a bunch of normals, and I have definitely seen some things with this new patch, and I've also been watching. I keep a close eye on some of the high elo streamers just to see what they're doing. See what they found. That way, you know, might as well, right? They're the ones playing the game for so long. They give us the scoop so that we don't have to make the same mistakes. So we're just going to jump right into it. Patch 9.16 is pretty big. So they've introduced...
This is the biggest patch we've had, I think, in terms of content.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think Scar, I heard say that he thinks that this will probably be, or maybe it was Scar, I can't remember who, but they probably said that this would be the last big introduction of characters before they do like some kind of expansion, just because it dilutes the pool, the champion pool, with however they're doing it. So what I'm talking about, if you guys are unfamiliar, is that in this patch they have released new origin and new champions. So they've introduced a new origin called Hextech, and they've released new champions that are Hextech and something else. So the champions here in the Hextech origin are Camille, Jace, Vi, and Jinx. So Camille being a Blade Master, Jace also being a Shapeshifter, Vi being a Brawler, and Jinx being a Gunslinger. And the Hextech trait is something that we can talk about this a little bit, but the Hextech trait is pretty annoying. They throw a bomb at an enemy unit with an item, and it disables all items in a 1 to 2 hex radius for 8 seconds. Let that sink in for 1 second.
That's basically the whole match.
That's right. What are your first thoughts on this? I know you haven't played on the new patch yet, but what are your first thoughts just hearing about this origin and its trait? What are you thinking about this?
So TFT, and we've talked about this a lot, TFT over the past few months, and since it pretty much came out, it sort of felt like it was a lot more about what items you're getting, more of what characters you're getting. Traits and such have always been really strong. Nobles, Glacials, Wild, all the traits are important, but a lot of the time it felt like it was more about getting one stacked unit with 3 really good items, like a really stacked Draven, a really stacked Aurelion Soul, Lulu, whatever. And it felt like that was what Riot was pushing for with that, where it was like, hey, champions are important, but items are really important. So it feels very odd to me that they're sort of backtracking on
shutting that down,
such a large counter to items, especially because most players, and this might change because of this patch, most players tend to group up their units very close together.
Exactly.
So throwing a bomb that disables all items in a 1 hex radius or a 2 hex radius if you have 4 Hextech, that's basically most of your whole group, unless you get very lucky. So,
for sure. And, you know, I think this is just my prediction from what I see, what I've seen and what I've heard. But I think they're going to nerf that time. I don't think 8 seconds that's just so long. It's like you said, it's the whole round, and having your items disabled is just, it just feels really, really bad. And again, like you said, item stacking has kind of been how TFT has been played, right? And items also being such a rarity, and putting your items, the right items on a champion has been kind of your win condition. You putting the right items on the right champions, but now a simple Hextech can disable that, and you're pretty much, your whole strategy is ruined. I'd like to talk real quickly on what you think about this theory of Hextech. Obviously it disables you from doing something. Demons, I know, they nerfed it last patch, but the patch before that was very OP because it was disabling you from being able to cast your abilities because it mana drained you. What are your thoughts on this? Because I heard Scar mention it. I want to talk about it because I think it's a good topic of discussion, but it's always more fun to play the game when you're able to do stuff, where everybody's kind of trying to build something. We might be building similar things, but we all have a game plan in mind. And when you throw in a mechanic where it disables something, it just feels really, really bad, especially when so much of the game hinges on such a bottleneck like items. What are your thoughts on this and Riot's kind of direction as far as disabling mechanics go?
So I think that it's very important to have counters to things in the game. Counters have existed in League since forever, and Riot has actually been focusing a lot more on buffing counters to other champions. So instead of just directly nerfing a champion, they can buff a counter and make it less strong. So that's something that Riot's always done. But counters need to be very specific, and they need to be not affecting everything. So when you have a counter that affects both things that are strong and things that are very weak, it just becomes meta itself. So demons were very annoying because they were supposed to be the counter to spellcasters, and they were supposed to be the counter to maybe shapeshifters if they got too strong. But they ended up being the counter to everything because demons themselves were good. Denying abilities completely was very strong, so why not play it? And this kind of feels like what they're doing with Hextech. So Hextech just completely shuts down any item-dependent comp whatsoever, but it also hits everything. It hits everything.
Yeah, it does.
There's not a single comp out there that doesn't get a lot stronger with good items. Like there are comps that are less reliant on items, like Glacial. I don't think Glacial is super reliant on items. Noble is not super reliant on items, but it's not going to be like great without items. It's just going to be a lot stronger. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
what happens.
I just feel like it just, like you said, because, and maybe they balance some way around this, but because items are so, like, that's how you win the game, really. I mean, obviously synergies, yes, but items are what feel like gives you that power spike. And then Hextech just being like, boop, and it just kind of stops so many things in one. And you don't even need, it's not even that hard to make a synergy, a Hextech synergy. So it is very frustrating. And I think, I do feel like this has been a very unfun patch to play. I've only played one, and I've only been playing it in normals, but the fact that it seems like everybody seems to be either building Hextech right now or demons because it disables so many things, because demons did get a buff this patch, and we'll talk about that, but it just seems like it's so unfun right now. Like, I was ending up really strong early mid game, and then just being shut down by that Hextech player, because they just disable everything and they beat you. So
I think the idea behind what Riot had here was to maybe force players to spread out their characters a little bit. Yeah. And then their idea to that would be, if you spread out everyone and that just completely counters Hextech, all of a sudden you're a lot weaker to assassins. So they kind of make a circle. But I think that people aren't going to want to spread out units because A, it's weak to assassins, which are getting a somewhat buff this game because ninjas got buffed. And B, it's weak against a lot of different comps. It's not like totally countered by every other comp, but there's a reason why people have been clumping their units.
And not to mention, some of the items want you to group, like red buff or locket. And dude, trust me, when you get a locket Hextech on you, it feels bad. Or you get the red, not the red buff, I'm sorry, Zeke's Herald. When you get that Hextech on you, it feels bad because you're essentially disabling a group. Yeah.
You have Guardian and you want to group up with Guardian, but all of a sudden you get punished for grouping up. Yep. So it feels like such a weird...
it seems disjointed.
I don't know. It's odd.
Yeah, we could talk about that for a while.
Yeah. I'll end with this.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone who saw this in the community was like, hey, this is going to be great. But maybe this is what needs to happen to make TFT less dependent on items.
Yeah, and I think, again, like I said, I predict that what they're going to do is probably either mess around with the spacing of the hexes, I guess, or make that time not as long, because 8 seconds is super long, and it feels really bad when, especially if they take out a key component. They said the bomb itself can be played around, so that might maybe be some of it. Maybe people haven't learned yet how to formation against a Hextech player, but again, with so many other comps that you have to worry about, and it's an 8-player free-for-all, it's a little bit difficult to just group until it gets.
It'd be interesting to see if I don't know how it prioritizes, but maybe it prioritizes the champion with the most items. So maybe you put like 2 bad items on a Yasuo or some champion, and you just stick him in the corner.
There you go.
And then the guy throws the bomb at him, and it doesn't affect anything else. But
see, like I said, you can't really plan for that, because Hextech, that's Yasuo, that's late game. Your items by that point, you've already formed a comp or synergy.
You can get any unit and just throw it in the corner.
Sure,
it does feel really bad. I don't think that's a great way to play around it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the Hextech units themselves. Just give a brief rundown. So Camille is a Blade Master as well as Hextech. So her ability is pretty cool. It's kind of like her ult in League. She roots an enemy, but what's also cool is that it forces her in-range teammates to target whoever she's fighting. So I've seen this actually stop. Who was it? I think I saw stop a vial, stops anybody who's trying to move. It roots them in place, and it also lets people focus on that person. So it's pretty neat, pretty interesting ability. The ability damage is 200, 325, and 450. It is kind of nice. Jace, the ability is just like his ultimate in League, where he changes. So what's neat about him is he does something a little bit different, but he disrupts the enemy front line by knocking back an enemy unit with his thundering blow, which is neat. He then switches to his Mercury Cannon, bringing increased attack speed and range damage. So this kind of is nice because it can throw off a lot of people's formations, putting tanks in front by Jace knocking them in the back. That's kind of a neat mechanic there. So he's also a shapeshifter, which adds more shapeshifters into the mix, because now you can go 6. He's a 2 cost, and his ability damage goes 200, 300, 350, and 500. Did you have anything to add anyway, by the way, on Camille or Jace? Before
Jace is I think he's important to the shapeshifter comp because he's a very low cost shapeshifter. So now it's possible to get 3 shapeshifter at basically
real early.
You can get Elise, Nidalee, and now Jace. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if Jace himself is strong. 50 mana is so low for a transformation, but you only do it once.
It's actually really nice because cool. I've tried it early on. What he seems to be is like an early game shapeshifter champ, because he does transform right away. Shapeshifters, 3 shapeshifters early on isn't that bad. So I think he adds some good early game shapeshifting, because that wasn't really a thing. So I think your shapeshifters might be in play.
It's nice that we finally get a champion that, instead of going from range to melee, we get one that goes from melee to range. Shapeshifters, we have some units to put up front. Because I think every other shapeshifter went from range to melee. So that's nice. But,
from what I've seen, Jay seems like really good early game, especially with certain items. So definitely like it. And I think it maybe will entice people to do more shapeshifter comps, which I'm excited about, because I think they do need some love. Let's move on to Vi. So she's Hextech and Brawler. She costs 3 gold. Her ability is just like her ult in League. So she targets the farthest enemy and charges towards them, knocking aside and damaging every enemy along the way. Once she gets there, she knocks her target up and damages them. So this is really great because a lot of CC there. She's knocking basically everyone that she's going through aside, and then knocks up her target. So great CC, kind of like a Pike. What are your thoughts?
So this says it's a 2 to 3 second knockup duration, depending on what her level is. I think that's only for the character she's targeting. I don't think that counts for everyone, or else that'd be really, really insane. But this seems like a really strong unit to put into any comp. It sort of feels like Blitzcrank, but a lot more useful after the ability goes off. So yeah, this seems like a really strong unit to put into any comp, especially if you're trying to get that Hextech bonus, which I think would be really powerful.
It also does, out of all the Hextechs, does the most damage as far as ability damage goes. So it's 250, 450, and 650. So interesting.
450 because I like to judge units based off their level 2 damage.
Yeah,
because you
most
usually get things to level 2.
Yeah.
Not to level 3, and you don't stay on level 1 very long. So 450 damage is a lot. Like you said, it's very similar to what Pike did. Not quite as much CC in terms of AoE, but that's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage.
On a beefy unit too. It's only 125 mana too, which is not the highest mana cost we've seen.
Yep. From what I've seen, she most almost always gets her ult off, which is nice because you know, sometimes with Pike even it takes a minute unless you have some good items on Pike. So this is definitely a nice thing.
Maybe we see like Spear of Sojin Vi. Spear of Sojin attack speed Vi. I
could see it. Yep, I could definitely see her being some kind of carry. Well, let's go on to Jinx. So she's a Hextech and she's also a gunslinger, which adds more gunslingers to the mix, which is really cool. She is a 4 cost, so you won't get her in the early stages. At least it's less likely. And then her rocket damage is her ultimate. So this is pretty cool because the way Jinx works is kind of like how she works in game. The longer you keep her alive and as your team gets kills, she just gets stronger and stronger throughout that actual round. So her ability gets excited after her first takedown, gaining bonus attack speed. If she scores a second takedown, she pulls out Fish Bones, her rocket launcher, causing her attacks to deal AoE damage. So her rocket damage is 100 at level 1, 225 level 2, and then level 3 is at 350, but it's magic damage and an explosion that covers 3 hexes. So she does AoE if you get that second takedown. So she gets stronger as if she's alive and the round keeps going on, and I've seen it firsthand. Like if you keep her alive and the round is still going on, she is a monster just like late game Jinx is in the game, which is pretty cool.
This is the carry that Gunslingers needed. Because previously, all you had was Tristana, and Tristana being a 1 cost means she has terrible base HP, terrible stats. She has the same attack speed as Tristana, so it's not gonna be like crazy like that. But now you have like the late game character to put your items on, because every other gunslinger didn't really feel like a carry. You have Graves, which is Lucian, which kind of was a carry, but he was also sort of
early game
short range. And Gangplank was definitely not a carry. And then Misfortune, who was basically just an ult bot. You didn't really want to stack attack speed items on her. Her ult did a lot of damage, but it wasn't like the item stacking. But now we have a character which benefits insanely from attack speed items, insanely from AD items. And she's going to have incredible range, incredible AoE damage. This is the unit to make gunslingers great. So if gunslingers are really good, we'll see Jinx in every single gunslinger comp.
And I would say too, like GP I've actually seen a lot more play. If you stack the right items on him, he can be pretty effective, especially. His
barrels do good, but I mean, he's not. His auto attacks.
His auto attacks are not good, but
not
definitely.
Not melting people.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I do agree. Gunslingers are going to be good. We'll talk about that probably a little bit more as we get into some of the other champions, because MF also got a buff. So let's go on first to the matchmaking. So this is cool because it was pretty annoying when you would fight the same person twice, especially if that person was like level 1, I mean like first place, and you were like last place, and then you're like, oh gosh, I'm playing him again. It also prevents you fighting a ghost army 2 times in a row, so that's kind of nice. At least you don't have to worry about that. It says it should almost never happen, so I'm assuming that it could still happen, but I think the chances are rare. I think that's a pretty happy change. I didn't like that when it happened. So overtime mode, I like this a lot. So what they do now is, first of all, they're thinking behind this. They don't like draws. They're not fun. So now 30 seconds in every battle, overtime kicks in and it speeds things up for 15 seconds. So draws are still possible, but there should be a lot less of them. I also like it because it speeds things up, keeps things moving. So it's pretty cool.
This is Riot's answer to the Guardian Noble Knight meta.
Yeah.
It ended up having a lot of draws just because knights and guardians don't do a lot of damage, but they're very, 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 very beefy. So
Yeah.
it ended up just drawing out matches a lot. So having this means that you won't draw as much, which is actually not a nerf to knights knight glacial, because drawing does damage to you as well. So
Yeah.
I like this change. Hopefully this will make it so that you don't draw as much, which I think it will.
Yeah, I think it's nice. So the details of it. So like I said, so what'll happen if you get into the Earth overtime? So 300% attack speed, 200% ability damage, 66% reduced crowd control duration, 66% healing reduction, and 30% increased affection towards maritime mammals. What? Okay, I don't know if that last one's a meme or not, but
that one's just a meme.
Okay, or maybe it's a future thing. Maybe there's going to be like a Fizz Nami. I don't know. Anyways, all right. So that's Earth overtime. Let's go into rank changes. So this is kind of cool. I mean, it's basically just them tweaking the rank system. But basically, I guess there were a couple of bugs with inconsistencies. But now they made it so that you will almost always be demoted if you lose LP in a game that you started with 0 LP. So it basically lets you know that if you're starting a game with 0 LP and you lose, you will probably get demoted. It's nice to know that at least. Additionally, Grandmaster and Challenger players who demote will now skip Master and go directly to Diamond 1. Interesting. I guess it has to do with some stuff at the top of the ladder, which doesn't affect me. I don't think it affects you, right? So, but if you're up there, then yeah.
This is a change that's required just because Teamfight Tactics doesn't have promotional series.
Yeah.
So it has to be slightly more punishing to lose at 0 LP, just because it's so much more rewarding to win at 100 LP or high LP, because you don't have to go through promo matches.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. Since they also made some adjustments to LP gains and losses underneath the hood for extreme edge cases. I'm assuming extreme edge cases are maybe in the high elo system. So it looks like they're just tuning it up for that.
They're working on it being probably a lot less punishing for getting lower levels at really high ranks, like high diamond or mid plat or something like that. I know that people were complaining they were only getting like 18 LP for wins and they were losing like 115 LP for losses.
Word. Yeah, that feels bad.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Okay. All right. They're also adjusting player damage. So it looks like a focus that they're trying to do is keeping the overall game time, game length shorter. Which is cool because, League does take quite a bit of time. Teamfight Tactics is nice because I feel like I can get a couple more games in if I don't have quite enough time to play League. So what they're doing with player damage is they adjusted it so that games aren't taking as long as they were. So it now scales with the current stage. So stages 1 through 2, you're taking 1 damage per unit. 3 through 4, it's 2 damage. Stage 5 is 3 damage. Stage 6 is 4 damage. And then stage 7 plus is 5 damage. So you're going to be taking quite a bit of damage at the late stages, which by then it should probably only be like 2 or 3 people. And at that point, you're just kind of trying to end the game. So
I don't know how I feel about this. I like that you take less damage early. This actually might encourage loss streaking a little bit more, because one less damage per loss is nice. It's not nothing. But I don't like how quickly it ramps up to a lot more damage.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is probably fine. 1 to 2 more damage late game is painful, but I think, like they said, overall damage should still be less than at launch, which is nice. I still think that player damage is slightly too high.
I feel the same. I have to agree with you. I mean, I was playing a game earlier where, I was playing just fine. I was in first. I held 100. I was getting good synergies. And then all of a sudden, it just seemed like I went from 100 to 30 real fast. And I was like, holy crap, I couldn't even transition properly. I mean, maybe that's just player error, probably is, but it just didn't feel good.
The thing that makes this a lot more easy to stomach is the fact that they did make it less likely for you to match ridiculous people.
Yes. Yeah.
In a row. Yep. So at least you won't lose 30 HP 3 times in a row to the same guy.
Exactly. It's true. Yep.
So that's nice. I don't know. Yep. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's weird change there. And I think they'll probably play with this a little more, or probably keep on playing with it as time goes on, just based on other things that affect game length. I think they're really trying to keep the game length at a certain time. All right, let's move on to the specific traits of each. Each origin here. So let's first start with Brawlers. So they nerfed Brawlers a bit because, as you know, Brawlers were pretty strong. They're getting a lot of free health. So they're toning it down a little bit. Bonus health was 300, 700, then 1200. Now it's 300, 600, and 1000. I don't know. Like, I've played Brawlers. It didn't feel that bad. But Brawlers definitely did need some tuning. Some nerfing there, so I think it's a step in the right direction. To me, it still feels strong, but
yeah, I like that they didn't touch two Brawlers.
Yeah,
I think that touching the later game stages is the right way to go.
Definitely,
two Brawlers is fine. I think, especially early.
Yeah, and I don't even know if the 100 health on 4 Brawlers is enough, because like I said, it still felt pretty strong to me, but we'll have to see, and they'll probably play with that number. But yeah, you're right. I think keeping the level 1 number the same is fine. All right, let's go on to Demon. So this is the one I was talking about earlier. So they've redesigned the Demon trait bonus to not be quite the shutdown of ability dependent units like it was before, but instead Demons drain mana, allowing them to cast their spells faster, which to me seems like a buff, because it just seems bad. And Demons with being able to cast their abilities are pretty good, because there's pretty good demons out there. Aatrox, Morgana, to name a couple. But demon basic attacks have 40% chance to burn 20 mana from their target and return 15, 30, and 45 mana to the attacker. So from preliminary gameplay that I've watched, I haven't actually got to test this, it looks pretty strong.
Again, it seems really odd that they have the 40% chance at all levels instead of giving it a scaling chance like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This seems like you said, I think having 2 demons in just to have the chance to burn 40 mana. I don't think this makes 6 demon comps strong at all. I think this makes 2 demons comps really strong. You put in like a Varus and a Morgana or whatever you want your second demon to be,
or a
and then you
least
just tap mana. Yeah, at least
one
anything.
cost. Yep.
Because burning 20 mana, it's not like sapping their entire mana bar, but it can. Like having 40% chance, that can add up really quickly.
That's pretty high.
Keep denying alts. Yeah. I don't know.
Like I said, I haven't got to test it. Yeah, I haven't got to test it, but from what I've seen, like people streaming and stuff like that, playing it, it seems pretty strong, again, because it just allows them to cast their abilities so much faster, from what I've seen. So we'll have to do more testing on that, but for now, it seems like it could be pretty strong. So play around with it, see what you guys think. Let us know. All right, ninjas. So bonus attack damage and ability power was 40 and 60. Now it's 50 and 70. So they buffed it a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a buff, but I think they did buff individual ninja units. So we'll have to take a look at those in a second. But it is a buff, needless to say, because Ninja Assassin was feeling pretty weak after this past patch. So we'll have to see if this. I played Ninja Assassin one game; it did not do well, but so I'll have to do more testing. It just didn't seem that great. But.
That's a nice change for Kennen too, because Kennen is really strong already. So giving him 10 more AP and AP is really nice.
Definitely, and Kennen can be used in so many different comps. I mean, Yordles, ninjas, it's just elementalists, like it's so good.
He's a really strong unit.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's look at nobles. So nobles still underperforming. It's a more like an endgame fantasy.
Nobles were fine.
Well, I'll talk about this in a second, but the bonus armor and magic resist has gone up from 60 to 70, which it's nice. It's in the right direction. I think the problem is the variety of units, right? Like, some units are bad, some units are good, and like really to make this work, you have to get an incredible unit, which is Kale, and that's kind of hard to get. So, I mean, Fiora's not that great. I mean, Vayne, Lucian is all right. So it's just
Yeah.
to me, it seems like there's a wide variation of good units, bad units, and honestly, Kale is not like something that you can reliably get. So that to me seems like what might be the problem with that, unless they add more nobles later on. I don't know, but what do you think on this? I know you like nobles.
I think you hit the nail on the head with what you just said. It's really hard to, if nobles are really good, it's going to be really hard to get them because people will be fighting over them a lot.
Mhm.
And since it's a 6-piece, you have to get all 6 pieces to be powerful because the 3-piece one is basically non-existent late game.
Exactly.
It doesn't do anything. So having this variety of mediocre units, except for maybe Leona and Kale, they're both pretty strong.
Yep.
I don't know, but
And I
you could be
wonder-
right where it's just too hard to make them work. That even if they said 6 units wins you the game, which I kind of felt like that's how it was.
Yeah.
It might still be kind of weak just because of how hard it is to get 6 units.
That's why I'm wondering if instead of 3-6, if they change it to 2-4-6,
Yeah.
right? And then
I
have
think
like
2-4-6, and then
yeah,
nerfing the actual buff would be
exactly.
a lot more reliable.
Because getting 4 is doable, right? It would allow for much, a lot more transitions, and so having that 4 in there might be something that I think it would help nobles out a lot, and we'll have to see if these buffs do anything. But if I predict that if nobles don't see a lot more play, then I think they'll break that up into 2-4-6. We'll see. But that's just my thoughts there. Okay, let's go to Sorcerer. So 3-piece Sorcerer is just a little too strong due to its versatility. I agree. I like the Sorcerer. I mean, you can build in so many things. Bonus ability power was 45% and 100%. Now it's 40% and 100%. So it's still the same as 6 Sorcerer, but the 3 Sorcerer is a little bit lower. Your thoughts on this, Nighthawk?
This is actually a revert of something they did a few patches back. They buffed it from 40 to, or I think they buffed it from 35 to 45, and now it's 40. So it's still really good. That 5% is not going to make that big of a difference. Any nerf is impactful, but I don't think this kills any 3 sorcerer comps. You kind of just threw in 3 sorcerers because most of the individual sorcerers were pretty good. So giving your whole team 45% ability power was nice. So I don't think,
and they transition to so many things too. So it's very versatile. You could go Yordle Sorcerer, you can go even Pirate Sorcerer.
I mean,
you can go so many
Aurelian
things.
Soul was a great unit.
Yep.
Morgana was a pretty good unit. I'm not sure if she's still great.
She's still pretty good.
Really strong.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot
to get those sorcerers in there.
And now with last time we talked, Kevin was this introduced this this Twisted Fate centered comp
how could I forget about him?
What's crazy is like I told him this on Discord is that after that show, it was funny because then like the next day or so, I think Mobalytics released their 9.15B top tier comps, and like the top 3 all had to do with TF and Sorcerer just because he enabled them and he made them pretty strong. So I was like, Kevin, good call on that, man. So Sorcerer definitely one to still watch. I think it's still good. So play around that. Let's go into the last one, which is Wild, which I'm kind of happy about this. So Wild has been underperforming. So attack speed has gone from 10% per stack. Now it's 12% per stack. I've seen a noticeable difference. This might make playing Wild early a little bit better, I guess. Especially with Shapeshifter, I think getting buffed. Wild Shapeshifter is such a natural transition, it seems like. I think this might help that even more. And that, believe it or not, when TFT first came out, Wild Shapeshifter was like the OP comp until all the changes were made. So it might be nice to see some of that strength come back in because that's a fun composition to play. You got any thoughts on that?
The thing that hit Wild so hard was they reworked how attack speed worked. It used to benefit you based on it assumed every champion had 1.0 attack speed, and the way I say that is that it gave every champion the same amount of attack speed no matter what their base was, and then they reworked it so that it scales based on how high your base attack speed is. So to make it simple, a champion who attacks really slowly like Poppy, who only has 0.55, she benefits a lot less from the Wild buff than a champion like Kale, who has a 1.1 or a 1.0 now, based on this nerf. So that change really hurt Wild because it gave the 4-stack, which gave every unit the bonus attack speed. It really nerfed their ability to attack quickly. So
Definitely.
upping it from 8% over the last few patches to 12% what it is now. I don't know if it reaches the portions that it was giving originally, but it's a good step, and I think we're gonna see hopefully some niche wild shapeshifter comps showing up, like you said.
Yep.
Especially with 6 shapeshifter.
Yeah.
So
I tried to run 6 shapeshifter earlier. It did not work out that well, but it's just because it took me too long to get to it. But shapeshifter with dragons was pretty good. But I can see if you could transition wild shapeshifter dragons. I still think that's a doable comp. So we'll have to see. 6 shapeshifter is fun though. I'll tell you what, it's a lot of health. It is a lot of health. All right, now it's time to go to the individual champion changes. So first off with tier 1, starting with Elise. Elise got some love, thank goodness, because she sucked. Health has gone from 450 to 500. Spiderling attack speed 0.6 to 0.7. Again, another kind of buffed as well to shapeshifters, making her a little bit stronger. Any thoughts on her? I mean, she just needed it. That's all I know.
The double buff because demons got buffed seems nice. Yeah, I think individually she'll still be really weak, but because shapeshifters got buffed with the ability to get 6 now, and demons got buffed, and then she got a small buff, this might make her pretty good.
Yeah.
Individually, I don't think she's very strong, but synergy wise, I think she might be a lot better now.
Yeah, because she did seem to be kind of like the Lysandra of shapeshifters.
Yes.
Exactly. Kind of just like you put her in just to fill up the synergy. So this should actually, give her a little more relevance, maybe. Hopefully, we'll see. Kha'Zix. So the tricky thing with Kha'Zix is this whole isolated damage thing, right? So the non-isolated damage was doing too much still, it seemed like. And so they've nerfed it a bit. It was 150, 300, and 450. Now it's 150, 250, which is it's 2-star, and then 350 if you get a 3-star Kha'Zix. So he won't be doing as much damage, at least if you 2-star him. And as far as non-isolation, so that's a little bit of a hurting on I guess Void and Assassin.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I never had. I think you hit the nail on the head with the non-isolated damage being a problem with Void. I think because Void did true damage, having a 300 damage nuke on a pretty low cooldown was pretty strong. But I never really thought Kha'Zix was the problem in Void. I think everyone agrees it was Cho'Gath.
And for sure.
Cho'Gath too. But I don't know. It seems like an odd thing to nerf. I don't think anyone was like, "Oh, this Kha'Zix, man."
Same with me, man. I did not. I wasn't like complaining about Kha'Zix at all. Like honestly, so I was hardly picking Kha'Zix up unless I just wouldn't wanted to round out that Void buff early on. Or round out an assassin comp. Okay, Mordekaiser. Oh gosh, no longer casts his ability if there are no enemies in range at the start of the cast time. Thank goodness. I mean, he still needs, I think, some work. They've been buffing him. He is kind of, I feel like, one of the worst knights.
He's still really bad.
Yeah, he's still pretty bad. And he's kind of like, again, one of those things you just put in there for Phantom bonus if you're going Rangers, right? But at least this kind of, because I have seen this happen on more occasions than I'd like to see, is where he ults and there's nobody there. Like, come on, man! I'm just waiting for you to ult and you miss.
How long it takes for him to get his ult up? It is fairly bad. I think this we'll see this change for almost every single unit. We've seen it for Darius. We've seen it for Garen. We're gonna see it for almost every single unit that has problems with ulting. We see it for Katarina later in this patch too.
And I think too, I still think, he still needs some work. I still have to go with our previous shows where we were talking about him possibly having lower mana, to cast his ult. It seems like it takes too long, and that 50 health hasn't helped him at all, I don't think.
No. He needs a higher base attack speed, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Base attack is
it's really slow. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go to Nidalee. So now Nidalee always heals 2 units when she transforms. I guess before she would only heal herself if she had the lowest health on her team. So now she'll always heal 2.
What happened was, I think she heals 2 units when she transforms. But what was happening was, she was healing herself twice when she had the lowest health. So, and it didn't stack. so it was basically just healing only her. So it's sort of like a bug fix. The heal wasn't really the most important part of her kit, but it is nice. So I guess this is nice. It's I feel like it's a tiny buff to Nidalee, which is cool because Nidalee was not weak. So,
and I think you know, I've seen her at least early too with, you know, shapeshifters, early shapeshifters with the health bonus too, and her healing. It does make them pretty formidable if you have Jace, Elise, and Nidalee. So you know, this bug fix will. Yeah, she does damage. She heals your team, kind of makes them stronger. So I definitely think that's a, you know, at least in that shapeshifter comp could be useful. Let's go to Vayne, the last of the tier 1 champs. So they nerfed her attack speed by a bit, or just by a little bit. It was 0.75, now it's 0.7, but they increased her ability damage percentage of max health, which was 8%, 10%, and 12%. Now it's 8, 12, and 16. So levels at 2-star and 3-star, she does a little bit more percentage of max health.
This is kind of sad because it makes items less good on her.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the fact that they buffed the passive because it does feel like the passive doesn't really do a lot late game. 12% really isn't that much health. I think it's like, even for some of the tankier units, it's only like 100, 200 damage.
Yeah.
So when you're only doing 200 damage on your ability late game, it really doesn't matter. It is a pretty quick ability. It's worth noting that AP does increase this damage. So if you give your Vayne 2 death caps and like Amarellos or something like that,
I have to try it.
Something like, I think 60 to 70% of their max health true damage, which is not good because you could just give those death caps to like Karthus or something. But it's still pretty funny.
That is pretty funny. I might have to try it out one time just to see, just to play test with some Vayne. All right, let's move on to tier 2 champions. Braum, they lowered his health by a little bit. He was a beast early game. So it was 750, now it's 650. Oh my goodness. Early on, he didn't even need synergies. You just put a 1-star Braum in, and he's going to carry you for the first few levels. I've played against Braum still, and he still seems pretty good. I don't know if this 100 health does anything.
When they buffed his armor from 25 to 75, I think that they made him pretty bonkers. So decreasing health is pretty cool, but I don't know. He's still probably good.
He still seems pretty good early on, so I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. Lysandra, they've done something to Lysandra. It's funny because Skara made an item sheet like for each champion, right, to see what items are good. And for Lysandra, he said straight up, don't stack items on Lysandra. She's bad. Don't put any items. All right. Well, let's see if this is enough to do anything. All right. So the total mana, the mana required to cast her ability has gone from 150 to 125. So she should cast it faster.
I believe it's two auto attacks quicker now.
Yeah. So good. I mean, that is nice. I've seen a definite difference. I don't think it helps later in the game, but later on, you want to replace her anyways with a Nivea if you're still going Elementalist. But I do think that it helps her early and mid game. So definitely not just a placeholder to get that Elementalist bonus. I think she actually is somewhat useful now, glacial, and does, you know, a little bit of CC. What do you think? Maybe stack items on her? Nah. I don't know if she's still that good. Well, you could, and then sell her, and then there you go. Items are useful. Okay, let's go to Lulu. Her ability health was 300, 475, and 650. They've nerfed it, so now it's 300, 400, and 500. So it's much lower at 2-star and 3-star.
Yeah. 3-star Lulu was my favorite unit to get. Especially in the wild shapeshifter Yordle comp.
Oh yeah.
This is such a weird nerf too, because I don't think Lulu was really that broken. Like she was definitely strong. I'm not saying that, but
yeah,
like I don't think Lulu was incredible. I think the fact that her ult was so spammable, and the fact that it targets 3 units at level 3 was pretty strong. But I don't know. This is bad. I don't think Lulu needed to nerf this hard.
I agree. All right, let's go to Zed. Zed, they buffed him. It's one of the ninja units that has gotten a buff. Health has gone from 500 to 550. Attack speed has gone from 0.65 to 0.7. And ability damage has gone from 200 at 1-star, 300 at 2-star, and 400 at 3-star. Now it's 200, 350, and 500. So a little bit more damage. That's 50 damage at 2 stars. With more attack speed, a little more health, I have seen some gameplay where they stack him, and it seemed pretty good. It seemed like he did a lot of damage.
This and the ninja buff makes him a lot better. I think he's still probably the worst ninja, maybe tied with Shen.
Yeah.
But hey, he could be good in an assassin comp until you get your Akali at least.
Yep. And like I said, I've tried 4 ninjas. It didn't seem that well, but maybe, who knows? Maybe I'm just a bad player. I don't know. We'll have to test, but I do think he is like, he's better from what he was. So that's a nice buff. All right, let's go on to tier 3 units. Aatrox, again, just the same as Mordekaiser here.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier.
All of them, yeah.
Every single unit.
Let me just say this then let me do a blanket statement. Aatrox, Evelynn, Katarina, Kennen, and those are the tier 3 champions. Basically, they no longer cast their ability if there are no enemies in range at the start of the cast time. So basically, it's almost like a big bug fix for a bunch of champions. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's the only change for Aatrox. Evelynn now prioritizes her current target with her ability. I didn't know what she was doing before. Do you? I mean, that makes sense that she would. I think
she would prioritize as many units as she could hit, or she prioritize the lowest health unit, or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if this makes her better. Maybe it does. It now definitely makes her a lot more reliable at killing what she's attacking.
Yeah, unit. Yeah. Pretty much if she's going to be an assassin. I mean, Evelynn on League is basically that person, right? She comes in, attacks you, gets out of there, right? And that's kind of what you're hoping that she does. So maybe that'll be more reliable. I'm assuming she would go in before and maybe not ult or prioritize the target she was attacking. So I think there were cases maybe where she got that, did some damage on that target and didn't execute for some reason because there was another target.
This just reminds me how many 3-cost assassins there are. There are 3-cost assassins.
Yeah.
Evelynn, Katarina, and Rengar. That's pretty crazy.
Yep. All right. Speaking of Katarina, attack damage has gone from 50 to 65, so she does a little more damage. I played her once. It seemed okay. I don't know. Katarina just seems weird without items.
There is a very, very fun build that requires a lot of mana items and
2 Seraphs.
What you do is you put Seraphs, and then like another mana item on her, and she'll ult immediately. But
and then jump.
She would ult and then jump.
Yeah.
So now this makes it so she'll jump and then ult. So this is actually a really nice change to players who like the meme build.
That's true. I did see it a couple times. I thought it was pretty funny. But like I said, Katarina to me is a champ that needs items, I think. Like I feel like she's not that good without any items. So I don't know if they'll change anything with her in regards to that. But anyways, Kennen's the same thing. No longer casts ability if there's no enemies at range, start of the cast time. And Shyvana, the leap AI is improved to better kite away from her target. Okay, I guess that's a AI buff.
Yeah, she jumps away and then she starts attacking. Shyvana's really strong, by the way. I think Shyvana's really, really good. Yeah, so if this makes it better, then heck yeah.
I'm good with that, especially in shapeshifter comps. I feel like she can most definitely be a carry. You stop a Warmogs on her. I mean, even Ginsu's. There's so many items that you could put on her that make her good, which is why I like her as a champion, because when you could put a bunch of items on a certain champ that make them better, I think that makes them much more versatile. So, all right. Let's go to tier 4 champions. We got Akali, Brand, and Cho'Gath. So Akali, her attack damage has gone up from 70 to 80. I think
ninja buff.
It's another ninja buff. And again, Akali, I think, is another champ that does better when she has mana items, so she can ult. Because her ult is what
strong on her.
Yeah, it does. That's what's doing a lot of the damage there. But having this extra damage just on her regular attacks is nice. Again, just another reason to maybe experiment with ninjas and assassins if that's your thing. I don't know. We'll still have to see. For me, it didn't seem that strong, but again, we'll have to find out. All right, Brand, ability damage. Looks like it got buffed. Okay,
this
is weird.
This is
because to me it feels like Brand does a lot, right?
Yeah, I think Brand's fine. And that's 75 more damage per bounce at level 2. So bouncing 6 times 75. That's bring up the old calculator real quick.
Oh boy,
can't do math in my head. 6 times 75. That's 450 extra damage on your ability, not including if you have sorcerers. So if you have AP on him, that's like even more. So I think Brand's back on the menu as like the character you throw into your comp to do damage. Like he'll fit into any comp. If you can get a Sojin on him, if you can get attack speed item on him, like a Rage Blade.
I agree. He's a demon. And which means you can ult faster.
Which means he gets double mana per attack. So demon and elementalist, demons are going to sap mana, so they'll get extra mana. Elementalists get double mana per attack, so they get extra mana. And you put he gets extra starting mana. He gets 50 starting mana. Now.
50 starting mana.
Whew.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely got buffed for sure. So yeah, I mean, I don't know why. Like, I felt like Bran was still okay, before this. Maybe he was a lot more under than I thought, or maybe I was estimating him. But I don't know. This makes him seem really strong, so I'll definitely have to try that out because that's pretty good. Now, going on to Cho'Gath, who is a really strong champion, they've nerfed him quite a bit, which is good because his ult alone is, the CC on that alone is already strong, but then couple that with the, AP that you can build is just insane. So his ability damage has gone down. It was 250, 500, 750. Now it's 175, 350, and 525. So considerable decrease there. Do you think this stops people from building, AP items on him? Or do you think they still do that?
I think you're exactly right. I don't think this kills Cho'Gath, but I think this stops Cho'Gath from being put AP on Cho'Gath.
Because he's a brawler, right? He's supposed to be a tanky brawler with CC, and there's no reason why he should be your carry also. That's just so weird. This
brings him a lot more in line with Sejuani, I think, which is good.
Yeah,
I think that he's going to be still good in brawlers and still a good CC unit, but he's not going to be an AoE damage unit anymore, which is fine because there's so many AoE damage units already.
Exactly.
So having one less isn't going to hurt.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the tier 5 champ. So Karthus was annoying, right? So now they've changed him. So starting in total mana was 0 and 85. Now it's 40 and 125. What are your thoughts on this? Karthus seemed like he was just OP.
This makes it a lot harder for him to get off more than one ult.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
which is good because
it's a nerf, but it doesn't turn off his ability to do one ult and do a lot of damage. It just turns off his ability to do more than one ult. Yeah. So I think it's a good nerf. I think Riot does a really good job with these starting mana changes to make it so that it doesn't just kill the first ult.
Yeah, it just felt bad when you would see him ult I would see him ult 3 times in a match. I'm like, what? This doesn't seem right.
Yeah, if you gave him like a Seraphs and some mana items and maybe some attack speed, he would.
Oh gosh, yeah, it would suck.
So yeah, it's a nice change.
Okay, and going on to Kale now. So Kale had the fastest attack speed, I believe, in the game. It was 1.1. It's now down to 1. I think it's still the fastest though, right? I don't think it's
tied with Fiora. Fiora has
it's tied with Fiora. Okay, it's true. I mean,
I think there might be another unit with that.
I don't know.
So Kale was the unit to put in every single comp, and the fact that they buffed Wild this patch and they've just buffed Rageblade last patch made it so that having a really high base attack speed was really, really strong. So she still has a really high base attack speed. It's not going to kill her, but it's not going to make her like the most broken unit with a couple of Rage Blades and a Spear of Sojin or Wild and a Spear of Sojin. So that's good.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, because we'll have to see. Kale still felt strong to me from what I've seen in my limited play, but I think that definitely does make somewhat of a difference. Now going on to Miss Fortune, who I absolutely think needed a buff because I feel like she was the worst 5-cost unit. That was just me. But her health has gone from 650 to 700, and total mana has gone from 100 to 75. I think the problem though with Miss Fortune that I find is the way she ults, like the way it prioritizes her ult. Because I think like for example, like Vi or even Aurelion Soul, it targets like the furthest opponent away. So it does the damage, or it does the ability in the direction that you're hoping that it'll go. Whereas MF will ult in the direction of the person she's attacking. And so sometimes if an assassin jumps to her and is attacking, and she's attacking an assassin or something like that, or whatever displaces where she's targeting, your ult can completely whiff because it's an AoE ult. You want it to hit as many people as possible. And more oftentimes than not, it's only hitting like 1 or 2 people. And that really sucks.
You are 110% correct. I think that they need to change it so that it has the same algorithm as every other AoE ult, or every major AoE ult, where it wants to target the most people. But maybe that would make her too strong. I don't know. There's got to be a reason they do that, because they have the technology for
right.
it.
Sure.
They did it with Pike. They did it with there was another one recently. I forget who it is.
Yeah.
To make it target the most. So.
But I mean, it makes sense. That's what nice it should do. So we'll see. But hopefully these buffs help her out a little bit. All right, let's go on to items. So we'll start with Hush. It got reworked. So now it has a 33% chance on hit to prevent the enemy champion from gaining mana. They're calling it Mana Lock for 4 seconds. That's interesting. Another kind of disabling effect here. I mean, it was already, but it's attacking mana. What do you think?
This is functionally a silence, but it makes it a lot less frustrating for when your champions already had full mana.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. I think that this is the way to make silence not as frustrating. I don't think it's weak at all, though. I think this is still a really, really strong item.
Sure. By any chance, did you know what the percentage was before on Hush?
I think it was 50%.
Okay, so it was pretty high.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Really high.
Okay. So now let's go on to Infinity Edge, which felt like an underwhelming item to me, and they've buffed it. So the critical strike damage has gone from 150 to 200%, which is nice. Maybe we see it played a little more. I know I hardly built it, but
so the problem I think most people had with IE was that the F Sword is such a good item.
Yeah,
that
builds into so many things.
An item that takes 2 of them.
Yeah,
like you're crazy.
It better be good, right?
Yeah, it better be like the best item in the game.
Yeah,
and this combined with the fact that you still have Phantom Dancer, which completely blocks crits.
Yeah,
I think it feels really, really bad because 2 BF swords. BF sword makes Spear of Sojin. It makes GA. It makes Zeke's Herald.
Bloodthirster.
It makes Bloodthirster, which I don't know if is as crazy good, but it makes
on
so
certain
many
items. I mean, certain champs. Yeah, it does make a lot. And depending on what you're going, I mean, it's definitely a component that is needed for a lot of things. And in the game of League, IE is a good item. It's a staple. So hopefully they do make it where you feel it, because RFC is nice,
Yeah, it could make this like RFC and IE. You put that on your Rengar, and maybe Rengar is like even more insane now.
Yeah, right. Can't dodge. That'd be nice.
It does make it a lot better pairing with RFC, like you mentioned.
For sure.
Because RFC makes it so you can't miss. So hey.
Yep. Exactly. Can't miss, and you're going to take this critical strike damage. Okay. Let's go to Ionic Spark. So they nerfed the damage a little bit. It's gone from 150 to 125. Now properly stacks. I guess it wasn't stacking properly.
It didn't stack previously. So now if you have 3, you could have, you could have as many as you want.
Oh, wow.
But now you can have like as many Ionic Sparks as you can make.
Yeah.
So you could have like 10 Ionic Sparks and do 1,000
ridiculous damage
whenever they want. But that's
I'm assuming you want to put this on somebody that stays alive long, right? So that they can keep doing this. Okay.
Which is hard because you don't want to put it on a backline because it doesn't have great stats for the backline unit. And you don't want to put it on a front line because, like you said, you want it to live as long as possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what do you do? All right. Now this got a buff, Locket of the Iron Stellar. So previously, so it got nerfed last patch, but before that, it was kind of a staple in a lot of sorcerer comps, a lot of comps actually, because the shield was so strong and it lasted forever. Then they nerfed it to 4 seconds, which was really short, and now they've buffed it to 6 seconds, which I played around with, and it actually does help. 6 seconds is pretty long. It's good.
I think this is the sweet spot. For this, I think this is It doesn't make it OP in every comp because it doesn't last forever. But 6 seconds is just long enough to where it will probably be burned the entire amount before it goes away. So that's like perfect, especially since they buffed it back to 250. So I think Locket is back for very specific comps. And I think it won't no longer will feel bad to build, which is really nice.
Yeah,
Assassins will probably like this a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I wonder. No, I don't even know what I was going to say. I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, yeah, it's got buffed. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I think maybe with Hextech, that might be the thing they got to play around with, kind of that sweet spot of timing. Like, what's a good amount of time so that the effect is still there, but it doesn't like cripple you from the entire round. We'll see. Anyways, I'm just griping on Hextech some more because I hate it so far. Unless I play it, then I'm happy. But all right, let's go on to Morello. This was also an OP item last patch. It still looks okay. I don't know. Let me get your thoughts. But it was doing 20% max health over 5 seconds, which made it pretty bursty. Now it's 20% max health over 10 seconds. So still a dot. It's just a longer dot.
Yeah, this is a big nerf to bursty comps that use this. Basically, you put this on any AoE unit that did a lot of damage, and it would 20% max health over 5 seconds. That's 5% of max health every second. Yeah, so that was a lot of damage. So now it's only 2.5% of health every second, and it doesn't reapply until after 10 seconds. So Morello's is still good as an anti-healing item because the anti-heal lasts for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
really good. But the burn is no longer quite as broken as it used to be.
Nice. Okay. Let's go to red buff. So the burn damage on this was 13%, 13% max health over 5 seconds. Now it's the same as Morello, 20% max health over 10 seconds. So it's exactly the same.
It's pretty much exactly the same, except for it does more damage now.
Okay.
Over 10 points. Like, it's a 7% more damage, which is nice, but I still think it's in the same situation where it does slightly less damage. But it lasts longer now. So it almost ends up being even, but not quite. So it's still a slight nerf, but it could be seen as a buff in some situations. It isn't just a direct nerf.
Okay. Let's go into Redemption. So the heal got buffed. It was 1,000 health. Now it's 1,500 health. Redemption has kind of been like an underwhelming item. They have been kind of trying to buff it gradually, like when it triggers. Before it triggered when you were dead, which I was like, this is dumb. Yeah. Now they've buffed that a little bit, so you're still alive when it goes off, and now it gives even more health. So maybe we'll see a little more play with Redemption. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? That's a lot of health.
I think it was just, it's way too hard to make Redemption work.
Yeah.
It's either if it's hitting anything, it's only hitting your front line, and if they're still alive, 1,500 health is a lot, but if they're dead, it's not going to do anything.
Exactly.
And if it's hitting all of your units, then they have some sort of like AoE burst comp, and you're probably going to be dead by the time Redemption goes off. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Maybe they need to buff the trigger time instead of like however long it is.
To go off way quicker.
Yeah, way quicker. It does seem like it takes forever. You're like, my dude's gonna die before Redemption even goes off. You're like, come on.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe they need to play with that sweet spot. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it still feels kind of unpredictable to me. I think that's why maybe people stay away from it. All right, let's go to Static Shiv. Damage and bounces. It was 4 bounces, 90 damage per bounce. Now it's 3 bounces, 100 damage per bounce. So less bounces, more damage. Thoughts on that? I mean,
this is an overall nerf of 60 damage per proc. So pretty big nerf. Static Shiv was getting stacked on a lot. I don't think this kills Static Shiv. Honestly, I think this still makes Static Shiv pretty good. But I don't think it's like as broken as it was.
I think it's good early game, especially when there's not as many units on the board. I definitely think it's not going to be as good late game. So if you're looking for an early game item, but I think the trade-off is that it won't be very useful later on. Whereas you could save your components for other things like with tier and recurve bow, right? So it kind of makes you, I guess, think about it a little more. Because what I was doing is every time I was building Static Shiv early, no matter what. Now maybe I have to think about it like, all right, am I trying to get some early game going or possibly save these components for better items later? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you're like right on the head.
Okay, let's go to Warmog. So the heal now heals a maximum of 400 health per tick. It's mostly nerfs its effects on PvE dragons.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Dragon, if ahead of Warmogs and you had like a really low damage comp, it was really, 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 really hard to kill.
Hard to kill. Okay.
So I think this only ever affects your units if you have like something like a 7,000 HP Gnar, which can happen with 6 shapeshifters and a lot of HP. But I don't think this is like a major nerf at all. I don't think this really affects anything.
Okay.
But it's funny.
It is pretty funny because I have gone against that Warmog's drag. It's so dumb. All right. Guardian Angel. All right. This was also a must buy in the previous patch because it was just really stupid. Your champion could come back with full whatever mana it had and do stuff. But so now what they did is so that first off, the tooltip updated to reflect functionality, does not interrupt abilities, remove positive buffs. It now properly removes grievous wounds and resurrects properly. So the health on resurrection has gone down. It was 800, now it's down to 500. I've felt that because I've still tried building GA. It's a big nerf, especially on champs that you wanted to ult twice, like Kennen. Sometimes he doesn't get that second ult off. So
the only redeeming factor about this is that they fixed the previous wounds bug, because previously what would happen is if your champion had previous wounds applied to them, which is pretty common considering how strong this was.
Yeah,
they literally wouldn't revive; they would just die, which was really frustrating. So this is still a huge nerf, though. I don't think GA is like playable anymore, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty
almost to the level as it was.
It's pretty bad. Like I said, I've tried it, and you just don't come back with enough health to do your ability, which you need to do. Okay, and then a new drop mechanic.
Nobles, maybe.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Nobles. We'll have to see. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Okay, new drop mechanic has been added. So in rare instances, it's now possible to drop a full completed item instead of the 2 components separately.
Not good.
What? Oh my gosh.
So this basically, if you, instead of having like a round where you got a Phantom Dancer, or if you got a recurve bow and a armor drop, it would automatically combine and make you a Phantom Dancer, which in that situation is probably not too bad because, hey, maybe you wanted a Phantom Dancer.
Yeah, but what if you don't?
It drops you like a Sword of the Divine or like a something that you really don't want? Like, what if it gives you a demon thing? Like, what if you dropped a spatula and a tier, and you really needed a spatula for?
Why would they do this?
Like, wait, I don't know. This seems like such a weird change. The only thing in my brain that makes this maybe something that they wanted to do is they wanted to make item stacking less reliable.
That's true.
So they wanted to make it so that you have the chance to not get RFC, Runins, so and so on your Draven every single game. But it seems like such a feel bad moment because every time you get like a sword breaker or a red buff on a team that has no auto attackers, or like a cursed blade on something that doesn't, it's gonna feel really, really bad.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how I feel about that change. Honestly, items. Well, again, maybe they're trying to make more variety, I think, with items, as opposed to, again, this focusing on stacking and getting the same items every time on a certain champion. I think they maybe want to diversify that a little bit. So if that's the case, it makes sense. It's still pretty annoying. Also, one thing I've noticed, which is not mentioned here, and I don't know if it's an actual documented change, but in later carousels, I've noticed much more completed items in the carousels later rounds, as opposed to there just being like one. So I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's intended. I don't see it written anywhere here, but I've definitely seen it consistently, like tons of completed items, which is kind of nice. So if anything, that's kind of a nice little wrench to throw in your game plans later in the game. So that's all the item fixes. Now there's just a couple of bug fixes. All right, so Spiderlings Golems can now probably be target Frozen Heart, Kindred, Swain, Karthus, Shen, and Vigar. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Spiderlings and Golem can. Okay, I guess they weren't being able to be targeted before.
They weren't getting reduced,
that makes sense.
I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And it looks like, I guess, Kindred's ult wouldn't shield them. Swain wouldn't get them. Karthus wouldn't ult them. Shen wouldn't dodge them probably. Vigar couldn't ult them. So I guess now that's fixed. Graves now properly gains range with rapid fire cannon. Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, who played? I don't know. Okay.
That's kind of nice. Is like not the target you want. Your rapid fire cannon.
I don't know. Hey. I have seen him with 2 rapid fire cannons, and that was pretty funny to watch. But I don't know. Pretty cool. Yeah. Frozen Heart no longer applies too many slows when stacked. I guess it was applying too many slows.
Wait,
some of these are funny.
Fix that?
Well, I guess they did now, or
I thought they fixed that last patch.
They lied.
There was like a bug where if you had 2 Frozen Hearts, units would just not attack.
Yikes. Well, it says too many slows. Maybe, I don't know what that means, but for whatever reason, if you stack Frozen Heart, no longer applies too many slows. That's just kind of funny. I'm just thinking about it, and it just seems funny to me. Okay. Fix some item slots not showing up or being in weird spots. I've seen that. Fixed win-lose streak gold being granted after PvE rounds instead of after PvP round that happened before. Okay. It wasn't giving them at the right rounds. Fixed little legends having collision after dying and subsequently body blocking players in the shared roulette. I don't know. Some of these bugs just sound funny. I'm glad they're fixing it. Fixed Blitzcrank attempting and failing at targeting untargetable enemies and therefore not casting. Oh, poor Blitz. Okay. So those are bug fixes. I guess, there are still bugs. I mean, they're still working out kinks to this game. I mean,
they should have just turned off body blocking in the shared roulette. Why didn't they just turn that off?
I don't
Nobody
know.
likes that.
Maybe they want that. I've been body blocked. It's not fun. I don't know. Maybe to troll your friends when you're playing a custom game. Who knows? But that's pretty much the patch. Did you have any other things to add, Nighthawk? I think it's a pretty big patch here. A lot of champions, a lot of new mechanics, a lot of things to play. I think if we had a recap, did you have anything like important? If you had to list out important things, I know you're here at the end, but maybe a TL,
units,
DL,
very important.
Yeah.
Demons, keep an eye on them.
Yep.
Ninjas, don't discount them.
Yep.
Nobles,
that's good.
Try to build them.
Try to build them. Good
I
luck.
have no idea. This patch was massive. Hopefully it reworks the meta a little bit. Hopefully Hextech doesn't just completely turn off items.
Yeah, I would be surprised even. I wouldn't be surprised even if they hotfix something where they just change that number from 8 seconds to 6. Honestly, it seems very, very bad to play against. And 8 seconds is just so long. Plus, everybody's trying to get it too because it is so OP. So I might stay away from ranked at least for another day or two. But next week, hopefully, we'll have a kind of a meta report after the patch kind of settles down and a meta somehow develops. But for now, I think what you said, Nighthawk, all those bullet points are good. Concentrate on those. And if you had anything that we should experiment with, please share your knowledge with us by emailing us at the allinpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at the allinpodcast. I want to thank my co-host Nighthawk again for pulling double header duty with 2 podcasts. You're a beast, my friend. Thank you for being here and sharing all of your knowledge in this patch. But until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the Rift or Teamfight Tactics. Try not to tilt too hard, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.